This morning we're going to talk about the steps that are required in closing your books for a fiscal year. There are a few things we should know about year-end closing in Financial Edge. First, we can have an unlimited number of fiscal years open, so it's not necessary to close a year before beginning a new year. We can also have an unlimited number of fiscal years defined, so we can have future periods defined as well as unlimited number of years open in the past. The next item says a soft close will lock periods and can be reopened. This is important because a soft close will allow us to lock the period to entry, but yet can be reopened. So this is great to use at the end of the period, but before we have audit adjustments to enter. Closing a fiscal year permanently locks the fiscal periods. This is important. We cannot undo a fiscal close. So it locks the periods, but it's also important to know that it doesn't purge any transactions. So if we close a fiscal year, all the transactions will remain. It's not necessary to generate and save the financial statements or transactions for that period. Closing you can always go back and access detailed information. Year-end can be closed at any future period. So anywhere down the road, you can go ahead and close your fiscal year. Okay, so let's get started. Some of the things that are necessary to do at the start of a new fiscal year is create a new fiscal year calendar. The steps to do that are go under General Ledger, select Configuration, select Fiscal Years, and when you select New, this screen will appear. You simply enter a fiscal year ID, a description, and generally there are 12 fiscal periods in that year. And when you click Auto Complete, it will populate the start and end dates for that fiscal year based on, your definition up above. When you click Save and Close, that creates that fiscal year for you. The other thing that you want to do before moving forward in the next fiscal year is lock periods to entry for the prior year. This is essentially what we're looking at when we talk about a soft close. You can open any fiscal year by selecting the General Ledger Configuration and Fiscal Years. Select the fiscal year that we want to lock, and you can click the closed check boxes next to the periods that we want locked for data entry. Each box is selected individually, so you can have one period open and not the rest of them. Okay, once we have those periods closed to entry for the prior fiscal year, we need to verify that all journals have been posted. Select the General Ledger Processing. Under that, select Post Batches. And if there were any batches that are displayed, you can select the Post box. Generally speaking, we should not find any journals that are unposted for the period. If we do, we would need to return to the prior menu discussion that we just talked about, locking those periods. We would need to make sure those periods are unlocked so that we could post these. When you generate a posting report, it will show you, of course, what transactions have been posted to the General Ledger for the period. You need to review that and then post them. Another step that would be necessary if we were going to close the fiscal year end, you need to verify that a fund balance is defined for each of your funds. You do that by selecting General Ledger, Configuration and Funds, select each fund individually, and when you open it, this screen will appear and it will show at the bottom, you'll see Net Assets Account. This is the net asset account that revenue and expenses will be closed to. It's also important to note that on this screen, there is a column that says Preserve Details During Closing. This determines what information will be held during a close. So if Projects is selected, project detail will be preserved during that close. When all those setups are in place, you can generate a pre-close report, which allows you to review what the closing entries will be. You simply select General Ledger, Administration, Close Fiscal Years. This screen will pop up, and you want to make sure to select, under the Closing Options action, a Print Pre-Close Report. You select your fiscal year that you want to pre-close, as well as under Report Options, you want to make sure the action listed is a Preview Report. A report similar to this will generate. It will show you all of the preliminary pre-close activities. It shows all of the total transactions and what a close would generate. Once that report has been reviewed, you're ready for a final closing. Again, you would select the General Ledger Administration, Close Fiscal Years. When the screen opens, you want to make sure here you would select Close Fiscal Year, as well as the fiscal year that we're going to close. And again, the report options, the action should be Preview Report. When you take this step, it will actually close that fiscal year. No more transactions will be allowed to that period. So the recommendations are, before to review reports for static date ranges. Okay, what this recommendation is referring to is that at the end of your fiscal year, you need to go back to your general ledger reports, particularly your financial statements, and review them. If you have any static dates in there that said, say, January 1, 2014 through 12/31/2014, that you update those for the following fiscal year. This other recommendation down here is pertaining to a close, and it says, create a backup of your data before completing a final close. That is a strong recommendation. If you need to make any changes after you've made that final close, you can restore that backup, go back in, make those changes, and then re-close that year. And then finally, because a final close cannot be reversed, do not complete a close until all entries to year are final. So ensure that all your audit adjustments are complete, everything is finalized. Make sure you review that pre-close report carefully before running through a final close. That's about it. That wraps it up. There are some upcoming Zobrio University webinars. If you're interested, please make a note of those. And if you need any help with closing, please contact Matthew Kreutzer at the email address and phone number listed there. Thank you.